Today I'm going to be speaking about a Lucchese associate, Stevie Feuerstein, better known as Stevie the Jew, which from here on I'll refer to as Stevie the J. According to Stevie, he had told me that he was originally from Howard Beach and knew Jimmy Burke's family. After hearing this, I reached out to Jimmy's daughter, Robin, to see if she knew him, and she did not. Anyway, Stevie the J is business partners with Big John in the Cigar Vault, a business that lists his wife as the owner. Prior to meeting Stevie, I had heard about him from Bobby Colello. Bobby is a childhood friend and associate of Joey DiBenedetto. I met Bobby through my associate, Pete Bartolomeo. When Bobby knew that I started going by the Cigar Lounge, he warned me about Stevie. According to Bobby, back in 2008, Lucchese member Stevie LaPella, who both Bobby and Stevie the J were friends with, began cooperating. Actually, he first began cooperating in New Jersey against the LaForte brothers, Jimmy and Joseph. LaPella's uncle, Pete LaPella, was a Lucchese associate around the Brooklyn crew and became an informant first. When news of Stevie LaPella's cooperation hit the street, Stevie the J went to Bobby's house and, according to Bobby, said the following: "I can't believe this about Stevie. You're not mad at him, right? I mean, he didn't say anything about you or me." A very interesting statement, to say the least. So naturally, when I eventually met Stevie the J, I was extremely leery of him. Besides being partners in the Cigar Lounge, Stevie the J ran a big bookmaking operation that Big John was involved in. And at Big John's suggestion, I started running a half sheet with him, so I had to deal with him. He also loan sharked money, which Lucchese members was able to get for a point. I had my own loan shark customers, but one time I did take $10,000 off of him for a point and put it out there for 3 points. As I got to know Stevie the J, he quickly showed that he was both skittish and scared. I found out that he was an associate of Frankie Papani, who used to be called Frankie Bones and now is called Frankie Sharp. He was still away at the time. And just to show you how much money Stevie the J was making, since Papani went to prison in, I believe, 95 and 96, Stevie the J put on the side over $700,000 for him. When Papani was released in 2015, he had a nice chunk of change waiting for him. One day, Stevie the J hinted that he was around Papani and told me a story how Big John's brother Bubsy badmouthed Papani to him. At the time, Papani was still in prison. Bubsy was jealous that Papani had an associate who was going to hand him $700,000 when he got out. So Stevie the J asked me what he was supposed to do, if he should let Papani know what Bubsy said about him, or keep quiet because his relationship with Big John, being they were partners in the business, he didn't want to cause trouble. He told me, "You know what my friend will do to Bubsy if he finds out, so what should I do?" I wasn't going to let anyone put me in a trick bag, especially Stevie the J. I could just see Big John questioning him. "Yo, Mo, why did you tell Frankie what my brother said?" And his answer would be, "Johnny told me to do it." So I said to him, "Listen, that's your friend. You do whatever you think is right. That's your decision and yours alone." Although honestly, I wanted to say, "You absolutely should tell him." I don't know if he ever did tell him, but I guess he'll have to after this video airs. Oh well, as the saying goes, it all comes out in the wash. I've spoken many times about our induction ceremony being held in a house in Staten Island. That house belonged to Stevie the J. He was told to take his family out for the day, and the ceremony was held in his dining room. One day I was standing in front of the Cigar Lounge, speaking to Stevie the J and Danny Kate's grandson, Danny, who's a good kid. At one point, Danny looked across the street and happened to see some Colombos going into JoJo's tire shop, and tells me that they were there to go to work on a certain kid that happened to be the nephew of the woman that I was dating. So I told them I'm going over there. Stevie the J panicked right away. "I don't think it's a good idea. They don't know you, and it's going to be a problem." But I just told the both of them, "Let's go, we're going over there." Well, when I got to JoJo's, I realized that the only person with me was the kid Danny. Somehow, while we were crossing the street, Stevie the J pulled a Houdini act. Inside JoJo's was Colombo member Gary Gugliaro, and I've mentioned this story before. He was a nice guy who put the brakes on hitting this particular kid for me. While we were leaving, guess who we seen coming out of the convenience store? Stevie the J, who had the balls to ask what happened, which I totally ignored. I did tell Big John, "Your partner's a real mutt." And after hearing the story, he just laughed, which if you think about it, any other associate had done what he did, they'd be chased immediately. But Big John viewed Stevie the J as a cash cow. He was always going out with him and their wives to dinner, Broadway shows, concerts, even to Atlantic City. Big John told me that Stevie the J was a breast cancer survivor, which before hearing that, I didn't know men were able to get breast cancer. Another time, Bobby Colello's name came up, and Stevie the J blurted out that he liked to smack him. This is the guy who hid in the convenience store and now wants to smack guys. So I told him, you know Bobby's with little Joey, so in essence, he's with me too. He quickly retracted his earlier statement. I like Bobby. We were very close at one time. I never did anything to him. He just stopped talking to me. And I apologize for saying that. Another time there was an incident at the cigar lounge where a Colombo associate was talking disrespectful to Big John and then me. I broke the guy's nose and knocked him out in the parking lot. The next day, Stevie the J said to me, I'm glad I wasn't here. I wouldn't know what to do. It took everything in me not to tell him. You could have went across the street to the convenience store, but I stayed quiet. It's always a plus when a guy shows you his colors. In December 2016, there was a pinch on Staten Island that involved drugs and gambling. One of the guys arrested was Stevie the J. He was charged with promoting gambling and a conspiracy charge. And according to court records, Stevie the J and the Joseph Byrne ran two Costa Rican websites, betterday.ag and betbtb.com. I dealt with the last one for my customers. They had Stevie the J down as a master agent of both sites, meaning he had the authority to open and close accounts and adjust their betting limits. I knew this because I had to go to him to increase limits a few times. But by this time, I was out of the business. There was an undercover detective betting with them who placed over $125,000 in bets. At times when the detective won and they owed him money, they would pay him with Oxycontin pills. Typically, when an undercover's involved in a sting, making transactions, it's a wrap, you're done. I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and also add that the Super Thanks icon can be found in the three-dot dropdown. Following the arrest, Stevie the J was out on bail and still operating his gambling business. What puzzled me was his carefree attitude, like he had not a worry in the world. But maybe he knew something no one else knew, because whatever was the outcome of his case, it didn't involve any prison time. And he's still out there doing what he does to this day.